Welcome back, recruits. I'm Chris Nance with the Northern California Ghostbusters, and today we're going to be opening up Greg's HasLab pack again, and we're going to be removing all of the stock electronics and installing the GPStar electronics kit. Let's get going. So first step is going to be disassembling the pack again. Motherboard out of the way. We're going to go ahead and flip this guy over. So Greg's pack is definitely going to look a little bit different from yours. We've done some modifications already to it between installing the new hose from Tools and Talent Props and the bigger replacement speaker and the Keep Alive and that sort of thing. There's just a few components that have been swapped around already. For the most part, this is actually going to be pretty close to what yours should look like. So we're going to start by unplugging everything from the main board. I would recommend starting with your battery connection first, just to make sure that you don't have any power to it. If you're using the stock HasLab, you probably want to take the batteries out anyways, just to make your life a little bit easier. And then, important thing to note with these JST connectors, do not pull from the wire. You will probably yank the wires out of the JST connection. Pull from the JST connection. So just try to get down there and use your fingernails to grab it by that little lip and yank straight up. You can also use pliers. Those are largely unnecessary except for like these longer bars where they have the bigger indexing tabs on them. Because some JST connections are designed to have like a little clip action. So there we go, there's a good example of what I mean, is it's got a little hook there where it kind of clips into the contact, which under normal circumstances is a pretty handy thing to have, but considering what we're doing today, we don't want it. There we go. Suddenly really glad I didn't trim my nails last night. There we go. We're not going to need that with GPStar's kit. I'm just taking the zip tie off so we can get the Keep Alive out of the way. Switch for the Keep Alive off real quick while I'm here, just to make sure. If you're starting with a completely stock, unmodified HasLab pack, you don't have to worry about some of these little things that you're seeing me pull, but it should be pretty close to what you'd be looking at in your pack as well. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and pull the main stock board out. It's got 4 posts that it sits on, but it's only got 2 screws that it uses to secure, and they're going to be there and there. Okay. And voila, there's your board free. We're going to start by pulling the screws out of the speaker so we can free it from the mount, and then we can get to the screws that hold the mount in place.
If you need to know how to remove the stock hardware from this pack, we have a video on that in our speaker replacement. I'll leave that for a link in the description below as well. You guys need to see that. This is Sklayer Brothers, or Craig, Red Coast Creative, gave us the speaker mount. So the speaker mount had to be mounted in this particular way, where the speaker has to be removed before we can move the mount. So that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Craig though, he does good work.
Speaker is free. I'm gonna set that down for now. So now we're gonna get the mount and the potentiometer out. So sidebar, I have a magnetic dish here to help hang on to all my parts. And it's very, very handy and like less than $10 at Harbor Freight. So would recommend investing in this just in general, even if you're only planning on doing this one mod and never building anything ever again, still a super handy thing to have on your bench. And it is important to note that because we want to hang on to all of this hardware that we're pulling out of the HasLab, most of it we're going to reuse for the GPStar if we need it. If your HasLab is still completely stock, this is all that you need to remove for now before you start installing your GPStar components. And voila. So speaker mount out of the way, rotary encoder, main board, all of that stuff is out. So now we're just going to remove these 2 screws. You can see I've already got one out, and that's going to let us take this inner wall from the power cell out of the way. So we're also going to be replacing that. Voila. Now we're going to take off the Tools and Talents Clinko connector. Don't worry too much about this because unless you have also replaced your hose with a drop-in hose before installing the GPStar kit, GPStar comes with its own that is a 4-pin connection as opposed to Tools and Talent's 2-pin connection. We're going to need that 4-pin connection for the wand to talk to the pack. Hey, Slippery Mike from Jersey Shore. Hey. So I think the stock ones on the HasLab were like a Phillips drive, weren't they? So we're just using a 332 Allen key for this. Again, if you do not have like a drop-in hose replacement, like say this one from Tools and Talent, you'll just be using like a Phillips head screwdriver, as I recall. And in case you need some tips on how to pull the stock one off, or we do show how to do that in our how to install the Tools and Talent drop-in hose. If you're using the stock, it will have a single long cable connected to the JST connector that goes to your main board. So you'll have to snake that back through the pack. There we go. Gonna take 2 of the long screws that we took out to begin with and just put the rotary encoder right back where the original was. We're gonna go ahead and remount the GPStar board in place of the stock board. And we're gonna be using 2 short screws, exactly where the other screws were, in the top right and bottom left corner. We're gonna go ahead there and there. The rotary encoder is your volume knob, and it's gonna go right there where the board is marked volume. Purple connector marked volume, correct. So this is from the speaker support kit. It comes as its own separate package, and this is gonna be the mount for the bottom speaker. And it basically just slots in and then pressure fits over the post right there. With that in place, we're gonna go ahead and mount the bottom side of the bracket, and that fits over the screw posts. And then we're gonna get the top side of the bracket, and that sits on top and then screws in to place. To make that a little bit easier, we're gonna start by putting these mounting screws in place on the top bracket so we don't have to fight with it. That goes back in like so. And we just screw it down.
I'm like right in your face with the camera.
That's okay. I can see exactly what I need to see. Okay, so there are 3 different types of speakers that GPStar recommends on their site. This is the Dayton Audio one, and important to know if you are using the Dayton Audio, it's got 2 tabs on it. One is your positive and one is your negative lead. The larger tab is your positive. The smaller tab is your negative. GPStar says on their install instructions, they recommend that you install everything so that the tabs are to the left. I'm just trying to get the speaker screwed into the mount, which is not the easiest thing to do because it's at an odd angle. And again, I'm just reusing the hardware that we had in the pack itself to begin with. That is a 564. Maybe I am using 2 different sizes. Whoops. Yeah, I think they were 2 different sizes. I think the drive was 2 different sizes on them. I don't think the thread was wrong. In any event, speaker's in. The top speaker is in and mounted in place now. So something that we've run into here, just using one of these Dayton speakers, is just doesn't line up with the mounting bracket. These Dayton Audio speakers that Greg got as a pair, they actually use a slightly different mount than the stock mounts that GPStar includes, as we've just discovered. So instead we're actually gonna go back to this other Dayton Audio 8 ohm speaker. Ow. So at this point, what you wanna do is go ahead and get your speaker mounted to the bottom, your bottom speaker to the bottom bracket, and then just test the fit real quick, which...
And we're using 2 different speakers in ours. They're the same make, they're just different models. They're both Daytons, just one's a slightly different model than the other. So we're hoping everything will be okay with that.
Yeah. At this point, we've got our basic board mounted, speakers and their brackets are set up. So our next step is going to be to break this post and then these nubs off. Not too difficult if you have a flat head plier like these, so you can just get right down to get these little nubbies off. Almost got all 4 in one go. There we go.
Now we're only removing one sprue. Do not remove both.
Yeah, we're only removing one post, not both.
All right, important safety tip. Thanks, Egan.
At this point, we're going to go ahead and install the battery into that cavity that we just cleared up. Greg got a big roll of stick-on Velcro at like Michael's for fairly cheap. If you did buy GPStar's kit though, well, obviously, if you're watching this video, you probably bought GPStar's kit. But GPStar also includes a bunch of pre-cut sections of stick-on Velcro.
3 inch, 2.5 inch, and then another measurement. So it gives you the Velcro, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's handy.
You didn't have to do that.
It's one less thing that you have to go to the store to get in the middle of the install. And stick it down, press and hold for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is so secure, it's hard to pull out now.
Secure is good when this is on your back and you're walking around.
I'm gonna use a tool. After the speaker is mounted and you've got your battery Velcro in place, you want to pull out your replacement power cell wall. And before we get that installed or in place or anything, what we're going to do is we're going to get the 2 switches into the wall real quick. Just easier to do it like this without anything, connected basically. And especially because you want to basically feed your switch through and you want it to end with both switches vertical. So all I did was just pulled out the 2 switches included in package A, and I got them threaded into their place on the power cell wall just by turning them. Yeah, we just kind of want to get it so that they both align vertically.
Both of the 2 of these switches, one is for the cyclotron direction, and the other one is for the vent kit, which we do not have at the moment. So
this whole thing slots right in like so. So with the power cell wall in, we want to screw it into place on this post here, the one that we didn't remove. And we're going to be using one of the long screws that we took to do that. So Greg has already installed the sound effect files on his micro SD here, and we're just going to plug that into the board before we put it in place. I'm just putting on Velcro.
we put the, is it the 8mm jack or 6mm jack or whatever?
Yeah, whatever it is.
On it already, just so we could get a better idea of where it needs to sit.
We installed it in the same location that is shown in GPStar's install guide, on the outer wall, basically underneath the ion arm on the outer wall, not the upper wall.
With the 5-pin JST connector facing down.
Exactly.
Down.
I don't think that matters all that much, to be quite honest. So I just plugged in the ion arm switch, and that goes to the JST connector marked ion arm. Most of these are labeled clearly enough that you can probably figure it out more or less.
He has a diagram in his instructions.
He also has a diagram in his instructions. So power cell goes to power cell. Cyclotron.
Cyclotron goes to cyclotrons, is it?
Yep. Vibration and mode toggles from inside the cyclotron, right there. There's the vibration motor.
Which is my LED clip art on mine, but still power, it's just power.
I have a very, very important question for you, Greg. Which switch do you want to do what?
So we mentioned before, one of these switches for cyclotron direction, the other one is for the vent kit. So the one closest to the motherboard will be unplugged because we don't have a kit quite yet.
The smoke toggle,
which will be closest to the board, and then the other toggle, which will be cyclotron direction.
And then this is your battery cable. And that's gonna go into...
Let me guess, it says BAT1.
No, it actually says battery. Just put the battery back in.
So we're not gonna plug it in until everything is done, and we're gonna test it before we give it power, because that could cause magic smoke.
Yeah.
So this is for the 6-pin audio board. Goes over there to the left and then onto the audio board on the right.
So if you can see past the mess of wires here, it's just the barrel jack plug that runs from the battery, and this is going to go out to our
Amplifier.
Ah, there it is, 12 volt. Okay. This is the actual power supply to the audio board itself. First of all, very helpfully pre-tinned wires, but it just goes to these screw terminals. It is marked on the board, very, very small, but it is marked, which the positive and negative sides. I actually need to back that up a little bit.
And so you're just unscrewing it and you're clamping down on the wires basically. This is so you don't have to solder.
Exactly. And I'm doing this now before we Velcro the board into place, just because it's going to be such a pain to do once it's already in place.
You should probably do all the wires, honestly, before we do that.
Now I'm just staging out the wires for the speakers themselves.
Negative and positive, it does matter.
It does indeed matter.
Luckily, Michael, our GPStar, provides quick disconnects.
They very helpfully provide these quick disconnects for the speaker contacts. However, what you'll notice is the negative is plugged in with the red wire and the positive is plugged in with the black. So on speaker tabs, negative is always the narrow tab. Unfortunately, the provided quick disconnect wires, the negative wire is red, the positive wire is black. So we're just gonna make a point to go ahead and put a piece of red tape on our positives so we can kind of keep track as we go, like, yes, those are the positives, because we do not want to reverse these. Rather like an LED, it's polarity sensitive, so we want to be sure that we're getting it in the right spot. It turns out that the contact tabs on our oddball speaker are both the same size, and as I previously noted, there's a fat and a skinny quick disconnect with the included hardware in GPStar's kit. Unfortunately, that is not going to fit our negative tab, so we're going to have to get a little creative and solder in a fat tab to allow us to actually use the quick disconnect. I'm just going to do that real quick, and then we don't have to run to the hardware store.
So to sum this up quickly, I bought the wrong mounting bracket for one of the speakers, so this did not fit, so we had to use another speaker, which is compatible, that works with the mounting bracket, but it came with 2 large quick disconnects, and rather than solder it directly on, we're just going to add a larger quick disconnect and solder it directly to the wire that was provided by GPStar.
And this is just like the quick, dirty way of doing this. If you were kind of taking your time, it's much easier to do this the correct method, because I am impatient. This is what we're doing. I think it's gonna have signal all the way through.
We don't have shrink wrap either. That's small enough for the
Yeah, exactly.
wire.
So instead, we're gonna go with a little bit of tape. The wire is red anyways, so that should theoretically hold.
So these are the speaker wires.
Yep, these are just the speaker wires. I'm just gonna go ahead and get these wires plugged into their correct terminals before we start, before we get everything fully plugged in, and that way we can kind of keep track of which goes where. Both the speakers are plugged in and installed. Battery is installed. Everything that needs to go to the audio board, I believe, is plugged in at this point. I'm just kind of dealing with cable management here to make sure that everything reaches between the different boards. Haha.
Oh wow, look at that, it clamps down on everything. They thought of everything.
Thanks, Hasbro. Now we're just going to use the provided Velcro to secure the amp board in place. And I'm just double checking that I have them both strips oriented the same way. Nope, don't you do it. There we go. On with that. 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1010 Mississippi.
That's board is secured in, right, Chris?
Yep. And fully wired in, I believe.
So this is the amp, the main board, and then the
Audio board.
audio board, and the two speakers. Now we're gonna do the hose connections.
And this is honestly a totally optional thing to do. It's just something that I like to do because it makes life a little bit easier when you do have to inevitably open things up and do any kind of tweaking or changing.
Everything looks nice and not too tight, not too loose. That looks a little tight. No, you're okay. It's not too taut.
Good.
You don't want things too taut, so things might pull out when you lift up the pack or move it. So it looks nice and everything looks like it's got a lot of slack. We're good. We've checked everything. We double checked as we went. Cyclotron lid's on. This is the test to see if everything works.
The suspense is terrible. He's gonna go this time. I hope it'll last.
Holy sh! That sounds so loud.
Let's turn that down a little. I think it works, Greg.
Chris, we did it. We want to turn this off?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds sick.
Okay, so we've got a successful test of the electronics. Everything is plugged in and installed correctly, it would appear. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and install the quick disconnect for the pack side. You're gonna start by feeding your wire pairs through and up along the side there.
We'll do that. That's a good one with this up like that. Let's all angle it.
That's how you want it?
Yep.
Okay, you don't want it like that?
Whatever way works, right? It's all preference, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever's just easiest to do, I guess.
There is no easy here. Nothing about this is easy.
So this one, he says one of the screws is going to be at a slight angle.
Well, I'm trying to get at least one of these screws started.
That's the diagonal one, I think.
They are Phillips head screws, but sometimes when you have pressure on the screw like this, it's easier to use a thin Phillips head. This is the part, this is one of the steps here, or probably the step that is the most kind of physically precarious.
Oh wow, that's really fighting you.
Yeah.
So it's causing, because it's going at an angle, it's causing pressure to build up at the other end points, so it's getting harder to turn.
Getting there.
Slow process.
Yeah. So because the Klinko connector is just a tiny bit smaller than the stock HasLab mounting points, it was a little bit of a struggle getting everything screwed in, and you can even see that we still have, it's not perfectly flush all the way around. Greg insists that that's okay with him.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to because the problem is we're starting to lose this screw.
Yeah,
We're starting to strip that screw, so it's just too much pressure, but this is fine. If anyone who looks down at my pen goes like, it's not flush, I'll be like, whatever.
Yeah, right. Is your classic red and black. I'm assuming that he gets different colors in different runs, so in this one it is green and yellow. And they are gonna go on these two tabs here on the main boards. So the yellow one marked plus negative is gonna be your power. And the purple one marked RX2 TX2 is gonna be your data. All right, so mission success. We got all of the pack side electronics for GPStar are fully installed. You will notice, however, the cyclotron lights are not animating correctly, and then Greg's little light up clip art isn't going either. And that's entirely from software settings with these boards. We won't be able to actually get in and adjust those software settings until we get the wand installed though. So keep an eye out for the wand install video coming soon. And a big shout out to Michael from GPStar. Really could not have done this without his help. We will have a link to the full kits and the GPStar website and everything in the description below. Please don't forget to smash that bell. Hit like and subscribe, comment to your heart's content. Greg and I are always lurking. Feel free to reach out to either one of us through social media. And if you have any mods that you'd like us to feature and and show people how to install, feel free to reach out to us. We're always available. Until next time, recruits, I'm Chris Nance with the Northern California Ghostbusters, and we'll see you later.
Well, that wasn't such a chore now, was it?
Well, I misread how the board cage is meant to go and accidentally seated it completely upside down. Son of a